I wanted to do this study based on the recent UFO sightings. They have come out and said that it was actually SpaceX, a new rocket from a base that's in Cali, and they released pictures showing that that's what people were actually seeing December 22nd, 2017. It was actually on the Sabbath as well, and that's why I was like, oh yeah, that was the Most High. What people don't understand, from what I'm seeing, like in the comments, people are like, oh, it's aliens, we're not alone, there's aliens out there and things, but the reality don't click that yes, there's spiritual activity in what we call space, because it's the actual heavens, the home of the Most High and his heavenly beings. You got the angels, you have seraphim and cherubims, and you have even spirits, human spirits that have passed on, and other beings out there. But anything that is out there, the Most High is connected to the Most High, because that's his home. And even Satan isn't allowed to be in the heavens anymore. But we get caught up in what the movies show, aliens and things like that. But actually, that's not what's out there. Now, you have things of the world, linked to demons and fallen angels and Satan and things like that from the spiritual realm that operate within the earth. And actually, the powers that be and the rulers of this earth are actually linked with those beings. And so they copy the Most High. They copy his chariots. And they, have their own beings. Like if you look up like alien pictures and things, those are beings from the earth and from whatever they got going on with Satan and the demons and that whole side of it. But the Most High and the angels are usually traveling within the chariots. And the chariots are covered in the clouds. And sometimes it'll look like fire. I'm going to just read some scriptures and then we'll try to get understanding according to the Bible. So, first of all, I just wanted to show that the Most High does visit earth. And I wanted to show some scriptures showing that. So first we're going to go to Genesis chapter 3, starting at verse 8. And they heard the voice of the Lord, which is Yahweh, God, walking in the garden in the cool of the day. And Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of Yahweh God amongst the trees of the garden. And Yahweh God called unto Adam and said unto him, Where art thou? And he said, I heard thy voice in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, and I hid myself. So the voice of Yahweh God was walking in the garden, meaning the Most High, they heard, Adam and Eve heard him. They were not by him, they didn't see him, but they heard him, they heard his voice. So he was, when it says walking, that means that he was there. He was walking in the garden, and all they heard was his voice, because they didn't see him, and then they hid him. They hid themselves. He might have been close to where they were, but they hid themselves because they were naked, which means he was there and he could see them. I grew up thinking that it was just a spirit, and he is a spirit, but the Most High does have a physical form as well, because we are created in his image. And he can be physical and he can be spiritual. He can be huge, like a giant. And he can be small as a candlestick. So we can't put no limit on the Most High and his form, basically. Because he's also the wind. and what we call Mother Nature. So, alright, so I want to read Genesis chapter 11, verse 5. And Yahweh came down to see the city and the tower which the children of men builded. And Yahweh said, Behold, the people is one, and they have all one language. And this they began to do. And now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do. Okay? So, Yahweh came down to see the city and the tower that the children of men were building. So, he came to earth. He visits earth. The Most High does. Okay, we can't limit him to just his throne. But even if, he can have many forms. So, he could be sitting on a throne and in the earth at the same time, because he know all and see all at the same time. So we just can't put no limit. But if it says Yahweh came down, he came down. Okay, and that's the second time. Now we're going to go to Genesis 18, verse 1. And Yahweh appeared unto him in the plains of Mamre, and he sat in the tent door in the heat of the day. And he lifted up his eyes and looked, and lo, 3 men stood by him. And when he saw them, he ran to meet them from the tent door and bowed himself toward the ground and said, Yahweh, if now I have found favor in thy sight, pass not away, I pray thee, from thy servant. So I want to go to Genesis 18 in the Strong's Concordance. And we're going to look at these words because we know Yahweh is the Most High. So I want to see what it says here. Okay, so the Lord in chapter 1 is Hebrews 30 and 68, which is Yahweh. And then when you look at so verse 3, when it says my Lord, he actually Hebrews 1:36, it says Adoniah or Adonijah, which is, it says Lord, God, the Lord, used as a proper name of God only. Okay, so if that's used as a proper name of God only, that's the Most High. Because you also have the Lord in Genesis 19 that Lot was calling the angels that came there. Let me read Genesis 19 verse 1. And there came 2 angels to Sodom at even, and Lot sat in the gate of Sodom. And Lot, seeing them, rose up to meet them, and he bowed himself with his face toward the ground. And he said, Behold now, my lords, turn in, I pray you, into your servant's house, and tarry all night, and wash your feet, and ye shall rise up early, and go on your ways. And they said, Nay, but we will abide in the street all night. Okay, so let's see what the Lord is there. What my Lord's is there is Hebrews 1:13, and it's Adon, Adawan, which means Lord, masters, owner, sir, meaning to rule, controller, human or divine. So that's what the other two men that walked off to Sodom and Gomorrah, well, that walked off to Sodom and saw Lot. Lot called them not what Abraham called Yahweh in Genesis 18. He called him Adonijah or Adonijah. And I'm just going by the letters. So if there's different pronunciations, I'm just going by the letters, how you say them in the ancient Hebrew, without the vowels. So, but it doesn't say what it says on that one, which is a proper name of God only. Okay, and even when you read Genesis 18, when Abraham is pleading with Yahweh to not destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, the whole time he's saying the Lord in Genesis 18 verses 23 through 33, the whole time he's calling the Lord by the name Yahweh, because it's Hebrews 30:68. That's the Most High. And people like to say, oh, that's Jesus or that's the Son of God. It's another angel. No, it says Yahweh, that is the Most High. And we don't accept the reality that the Most High can come to earth. He come to earth. We limit him to the throne, and the Most High revealed to me not to do that. So it says Yahweh, he was talking to Yahweh, that's who he was talking to. So when you look at the Strong's Concordance, and he even says in verse 32, he called him the Lord, which is Hebrews 1:36, he called him that proper name of God, Adonijah or Adonijah. That's what he called him. He never called him Adawan. Hebrews 1:13, he never called him Adon, Adawan. So that was the Most High. The Most High comes to earth. All right. And also Numbers chapter 12, verse 5. And Yahweh came down in the pillar of the cloud and stood in the door of the tabernacle and called Aaron and Miriam, and they both came forth. The Lord there is Yahweh. That's the Most High. Hebrews 30:68, which translates to the self-existent or eternal. So people try to say here that was the Son of God or Jesus. But no, that was the Most High. He came down in the pillar of the cloud and stood in the door of the tabernacle. So we're going to find out how the Most High travels from heaven to earth. Okay? Let's go to Psalms chapter 104, starting at verse 1. Bless Yahweh, O my soul. Let me do this in the Strongs. Bless Yahweh, O my soul. O Yahweh, my God, thou art very great. Thou art clothed with honor and majesty, who coverest thyself with light as with a garment, who stretchest out the heavens like a curtain, who layeth the beams of his chambers in the waters, who maketh the clouds his chariot, who walketh upon the wings of the wind. Okay, I want to read this word for chariot. Hebrews 73:98. A vehicle, as written on, chariot. So let's get better understanding. We're going to go to Jeremiah chapter 4, verse 13. Behold, he shall come up as clouds, and his chariots shall be as a whirlwind. His horses are swifter than eagles. Woe unto us, for we are spoiled. Okay? So he shall come up as clouds, and his chariots shall be as a whirlwind. They're hidden with the clouds. So I've seen videos like on YouTube where, certain clouds are acting weird. And you know that it's not a normal cloud. And he has another form of chariot, and we're going to read about that in Ezekiel chapter 1, verse 4. And I looked, and behold, a whirlwind came out of the north, a great cloud, and a fire enfolding itself, and a brightness was about it, and out of the midst thereof as the color of amber, out of the midst of the fire. So amber is Hebrews 7:84, fire, burning, fiery. Untranslated variant, flaming hot. So Ezekiel saw a chariot of the Most High. And we're going to go to 2 Kings chapter 2, verse 11. And it came to pass as they still went on and talked, that behold, there appeared a chariot of fire, and the horses of fire, and parted them both asunder, and Elijah went up by a whirlwind into heaven. Boom. So that just pieced together all the other verses I read. It was a chariot of fire, and horses of fire, and parted them both asunder, and Elijah went up by a whirlwind into heaven. Okay. And even in Jeremiah chapter 4 verse 13, it mentioned the chariots are like a whirlwind. So let's read Psalms 68 verse 17. The chariots of God are 20,000, even thousands of angels. Yahweh is among them as in Sinai, in the holy place. Boom. So the Most High have thousands of chariots flying what we would call UFOs. But we know that they are identified. They are chariots of the Most High. And He's even among them. Like he rides in them. And he has the other beings of heaven that ride in them as well. And as you can see, Elijah got took up into a chariot. So that's how they get back and forth from heaven and earth, by the chariots of the Most High. And even the Most High is in his chariots. So sometimes we'll see a cloud. You may not see the light. sometimes you may see the light shining through. And it'll look like fire, a cloud of fire. And even that's evident in Exodus. Let me get that. When it said that they were led by a cloud in the daytime and a cloud of fire at night. In Exodus chapter 13, verse 21. And Yahweh went before them by day in a pillar of a cloud to lead them the way, and by night in a pillar of fire to give them light to go by day and night. So that's one thing I wanted to touch on, because no, we're not alone. It's the heavenly realm and what the world calls space. And yes, you're going to see activity, because it's, the Most High and angels and the other beings coming to and from heaven and earth. So if we ever see the army of the Most High coming in his chariots, don't think it's an alien invasion as what they depict in the movies. It's the Most High, and it's prophesied that he's coming in his army and his many chariots. So that's the reality of it. The chariots of the Most High are real. It's what we call unidentified flying objects, but they are identified. The powers that be and the rulers of the earth know it's the Most High. And they copy the Most High. So they have their flying objects and beings flying them. But if you want to know if it's the Most High, then you just go to the Bible and you find out, the description that we have. And that's an idea how to figure out what you're seeing. And so we're not going to limit and say that, at night it's just going to be a cloud of fire, because at night it could still be just a cloud without the light shining through, because you can see clouds at night. So if it's just a cloud that's acting weird, that may be the Most High, or angels, or seraphim, or cherubim, or like it could be Elijah, because he was even taken up into a chariot. So that's the reality.